There are people who are captives, but they are not locked in physical chains that can be seen with human eyes. Some are trapped in the past, some are trapped in unforgiveness, some are trapped in traumas, some are trapped in different forms of things, and they are still trapped. Let me give a warning as I start teaching. At some point in this teaching, if you want to cry, cry. Sometimes it's okay to release it. If you want to lay down, lay down. And it is possible to be with a man whose spirit is dead. It is possible to be with a woman whose spirit is dead. Something has been mortified inside. It's cold. It can no longer respond to love, affection, and stimuli. Some people feel it is strength to say that you are not an emotional person. It is not strength. It is sickness. Because our emotions are not signs of weaknesses, but they are medium through which we express ourselves. We only contain them within safe spaces. You can love, you can forgive. In fact, you can be pained and you can be hurt. It's not a weakness if you are hurt. If someone that you love so much suddenly exits your life, it's going to be painful. And it's okay. It's life. And that you cry in the midst of such a situation doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It doesn't mean you are the weak one. And there's a way men have been raised. Real men don't cry. But real men are emotional. If Jesus wept, you can weep. It's not a weakness. Because we're having a societal culture where men are holding on to so much and they are making conclusions that people are only seeing the reactions. There are fathers who have become dead towards their sons. There are sons who have become dead towards their fathers. There are brothers who have become dead towards their sisters. There are husbands who have become dead towards their wives. They will do their duty for duty's sake, but they are gone. One of the signs of death is when there is no longer a response. All the receptors are gone. All the sensory neurons, the motor neurons collapsed, gone. It is not a crime if you can respond. In fact, I will prefer the one who even responds too much than the one who has no response. You are still safe around a spouse who maybe overreact than the one who doesn't. You can be out of touch for 2 weeks and he doesn't miss you. And he says, I'm busy. Where there is affection, there will be emotions. It is only strategic to eat a man at the point that he will remain continuously heated. And if there's any time in a man's life that if you eat him wrongly, and I mean any human now, it is as though you have eaten the person for the rest of his life. It is the season of his childhood. That's the place. You see, sometimes we ignore the idea of raising children. And permit me to pause here to give us a better sense of purpose around the subject of marriage and parenting. Listen to this. You cannot And let me say this, it will be wickedness to decide to marry a wrong person because you know time is going, forgetting that that person becomes the environment of your children. It is wickedness. You should not settle to marry someone whose mentality you don't want to see in your next generation. So the idea of marriage goes beyond the ability to contribute good genes to make the children look good and then batter their minds. It's a responsibility that God has given to you as singles, for those who are still single, to be intentional about knowing the one for whom or with whom God has ordained you will spend the rest of your life. And that must be vetted, but not in a hurry. So parenting now is a very sacred responsibility. And let me say this. We are still dealing with traumas that are associated with parents of the last generations. And yet, we are dealing with a generation who have no sense of sacrifice. We are dealing with fathers who don't want to be fathers and mothers who don't want to be mothers. The trauma of the next generation will be greater. Because it is possible to be pained and yet become worse than those who hurt you. It is possible to be grieved and yet become worse than those who grieved you. You are not ready to walk down the aisle if you are not ready to commit. If you are a man who believes in sleeping around, don't bring an innocent girl to suffer. You are a woman who believes you are, I don't know what gen I should put you. Gen Z or Gen Alpha. And your mentality about marriage is fire for fire. Stay alone for a while and fire yourself. Don't bring children into that atmosphere where they'll be wrecked because of your decisions. Because before I start teaching you and you feel like the victim, let me help you not to grow to become a villain. There are boys and there are girls. You see, Pastor, please come. This is, in mathematics, there's something we call an integer. So let's say this is a negative integer. Please come, sir. No, okay, let me use a lady. Okay, let me use his wife. Okay. And this is a positive integer. Let's say this is -2. And let's say this is +2. This lady has worked extra. She's a plus. This guy has abandoned himself. Is a minus. She believes that because of the level of training I've received, what I know and all that, when I meet any man, what I know will overshadow him. +2, -2. The answer is 0. I'm saying that there are people that your home training cannot repair. You must let God do his work, and it must be clear he has worked. Even if you will say, I do. There are disasters waiting to happen. It takes those that their prayer partners have left to marry them. And I say this again. While we understand that the church is a spiritual clinic, the disasters are also there too. There are wolves, there are sheep, there are goats, there are lions. You see, listen to this. Listen. What Jesus told Peter is, follow me. I will make you fishers of what? Men. When you fish, you don't just catch fish. You can catch a snake too. Oh yes. You can catch a poisonous fish. The one that you have to know how they skin it. If not, that's your last meal on it. That you find the person in church doesn't mean you've seen a child of God. No. Is that okay now? So I'm putting a disclaimer to it. In fact, the way I knew is my husband was that day I saw him around the apostle. Disclaimer. Listen, the concept of building a family is laid on the foundation of sacrifice. If you want to be right always, don't start a home. You can't take nonsense. No, go on Twitter, join the girls, shout, go on rampage, do all those things. You see where a girl is kneeling down on her wedding day to serve the husband drink. You are angry. Go. What's that? I don't do all those things. All this. Vex. Lock yourself in the room. Be it up with your own vexing. Don't bring that plague and hang around someone who is trusting God for a destiny partner. Not a problem. And let me tell you this. You see, this thing called pressure, one of the things it does is that it blinds your reasoning. That you see a person, but let's do it on time. It is not for those doing it on time, but for those doing it right. Take your time. Don't get to the point that you will wish you did. Take your time. Be sure. Ask question. Look at our mind and his mind. It is not the best colors that will raise your children or the best food. Let's believe that those questions are useless questions. You are not a chef. And even if you are not going to cook all your life. True or not true? Yes, what's your best food? So I like spiced gizzard. Please be seated. Thank you. Say, I hear. Say it again, I hear. You owe it to God and to his investment upon your life to marry right. And I've said this again and again. People went on a rampage. The church must learn to normalize breakup. It's part of life. There's nothing special about it. Listen to what I'm saying. It is possible that these two people are pastors in church and they feel they are not good for each other. It's normal. Never marry anybody because of what people say. If your life goes bad, they will still talk. Last, because somebody was sharing testimony the other time and then said Tipe. I don't know what that means, but because see, last, everybody will leave your issue and face their problem. You want to get married and all your thinking is about as fine as you are and as fine as he is. When you come together to produce children, how fine they will be. That's your thought. Have you seen fine children who have been messed up with a very brutal man? Please be careful. Is that okay now? That foundation needs to be laid. Marriage is very honorable. It is not what you rush into. If you are not ready to commit, don't marry. Yet. The guy doesn't do church. He says he works from home. No pastor around can pastor him because he's given to the word. And you like him like that. He's my own, my only one, my one and only. I don't even do any kind of marriage where any pastor will call me and my wife. We are men in our own right. Your definition of masculinity is to be one that has no sense of accountability. What a way to be a man. And that in itself is a sign of low self-esteem. Because you feel once there is someone who provides instruction and guidance, they are evading your space. What do you think about yourself? How do you perceive yourself? What makes you feel like a man? Is it money? Or the ability to control a woman? What makes you feel like a man? That's why when many men go broke, they lose it. Because the only thing that makes them feel like a man is the money. What's masculinity beyond money? Say, you don't have money now. Say, women, you don't just have women. If a woman is any more than you must find a way to bring her down to your level so she can obey. It is not control that makes men. It is leadership. Some women say, I can't marry a man. When they do marriage vows, I don't do to submit and to obey. Let me tell you something. The reason why you don't do that is because you have dated. You will not know when you submit. Submission is not demanded, it is commanded. A life compels you. You see the leadership you've not seen in your previous generation. You are compelled to honor him. You will not know when you say my king, because he is. And if that's still your feeling, it's a sign you are dating a fool right now. Break it. I don't care your age.